What's good, everybody? Ross Jackson here with Canal Street Chronicles, continuing on our draft series, taking a look at positions of need and 3 prospects that could address each of those positions, be immediate impact, immediate contributors for the New Orleans Saints here in the 2021 NFL Draft. Yesterday, we took a look at cornerbacks, so don't miss that video as we took a look at 3 potential immediate contributors there. Now, let's just bump it down a little bit when it comes to the defense, go from the secondary down to the second level, and take a look at the linebacker position. The Saints, of course, lost Quan Alexander here over the offseason. He is still out there and available. He's just rehabbing, and certainly, even if he were to re-sign, comes with question marks in terms of his durability with the track record over the course of his career. Makes a lot of sense that the New Orleans Saints could be looking to still fill that spot in the nickel linebacker position, let's say, next to Demario Davis. Even with Zach Bond in the building, seems like Zach Bond's going to take a little bit more time with him going from edge rusher to coverage linebacker. If that remains the plan for him, the Saints might be looking for somebody that could be more of an immediate impact, immediate contributor at this time. So let's take a look at 3 options for the New Orleans Saints. We'll start off with day 1 and take a look at who could possibly be a day 2 option for the Saints if they can't address it in the first round of this year's 2021 NFL Draft. All right, y'all. If you know me, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, you have to know exactly where I'm going to be starting here. And this should come as no surprise to you. It's a 6'4", 259, 260 pound absolute unicorn of a defensive player in Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. This is my draft crush. Just simply put, this is my defensive draft crush. I've got one on defense. I've got one on offense, which is a wide receiver that we'll talk about in tomorrow's episode. And I've even got a special teams draft crush. I'm nuts. But when it comes down to the defensive side, this is the guy for me. Zaven Collins. If they got him in the first round, I might just post a video up here of me screaming. I don't know. I might be that excited. But when it comes down to what Zaven Collins brings you, why am I so excited about him? Well, the Saints admittedly have several needs over on the defensive side. And while the New Orleans Saints are usually considered an offensive team or an offensive juggernaut, this is a team that's been able to really hang its laurels over on the defensive side here recently over the last few seasons. And now, all of a sudden, that defense sort of got gutted, right? A little bit over the course of the offseason where you lost, out of your 6 defensive linemen that had the most snaps in 2020, 3 of them are no longer in the building. Trey Hendrickson, Malcolm Brown, Sheldon Rankins, they all ended up signing with other teams. The linebacker position, you lost Quan Alexander. The wide receiver position, you lost Janoris Jenkins. So you're looking at a defense now that has holes at all 3 levels of their defense. And so you might be looking for a player that could contribute in more than one of those levels. That's where Zaven Collins comes in. The guy can cover. The guy can play against the run. He's very good at scraping, moving laterally, evading blocks, working through blocks to get after a ball carrier. But he's also a fantastic pass rusher as well. And I don't just mean a pass rusher from the second level. I mean, you can put his hand in the dirt on third downs and then send him in part of a NASCAR package opposite, let's say, Marcus Davenport with Cam Jordan on the inside, perhaps. And then all of a sudden, you have somebody that can play 3 downs, 2 responsibilities, and cover a couple of different aspects over on the defensive side. That's why I really like Zaven Collins for the New Orleans Saints. I know that the big name out there is going to be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He also fills a couple of needs if the Saints were to draft him. Could be a will linebacker, could be a nickel safety, could play the same role that Malcolm Jenkins has played over this last season. All of that makes sense to me. But in terms of the guy that could be there at 28, or the guy that would take the least amount of moving up to get him in the first round, if the Saints decide that linebacker is where they want to go immediately, Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. That's the guy that I'm looking at. He was actually named AAC Defensive Player of the Year last year with 4 interceptions as well as 6 passes defended as well, and also consistently put pressure on the quarterback. You name it, Zaven Collins can do it. Next, we'll look at a linebacker that has the ability to potentially test himself into the first round. Of course, I'm recording this beforehand, but on Monday, the 26th, LSU will hold a second pro day, which will include this guy, 6'3", 230-pound linebacker Jabril Cox. Now, Jabril Cox does have the ability to work himself into the first round depending upon how he performs in his pro day. And it's also very helpful that his pro day is just a few days before the NFL draft, which is good strategic planning on his side, as well as his doctors and his agent, all the folks that were a part of making that decision. But outside of even the recency bias, he's still incredibly talented. 3-year starter at North Dakota State University before transferring to LSU, where he was a starter throughout the 2020 season and a bright spot on an otherwise pretty pathetic defense, if I can say so. And I can say that, right? I'm an LSU fan. That was tough to watch Bo Pelini's entire 2020 there, and that defense was not easy to watch. But Jabril Cox was a shining star in the middle of that putrid thing that they call defense for LSU. But when it comes down to him, 3 interceptions last season, even though he was targeted over 40 times, no touchdowns allowed. He was just a phenomenal player all throughout the 2020 season and has been throughout his entire career so far too, even before getting to LSU when he was dominating at the FCS level at NDSU. He was performing the way that you would expect an elite talent to perform at that level. And he has been durable. He's been consistent. He's been healthy all throughout those seasons as well. Now, he is dealing with a hamstring injury at the moment, but that's one of the reasons why the pro day on the 26th becomes so important, because you get an opportunity to see him work through that. One of the reasons why he didn't perform with the rest of the LSU band over at it's like the middle of March 22nd, their initial pro day, is because they wanted to make sure that he had the opportunity for that hamstring to heal entirely before getting out there and performing these drills. So you saw them make a wise choice here, get him a little bit closer to the NFL draft, take advantage of recency bias, but also get the opportunity to put on full display a very, very athletic linebacker who can serve at multiple roles throughout the defense as well. 38.5 tackles for a loss throughout his collegiate career. So you see him being very active in the run game. He's also very active in the screen and flat game in the passing game as well, something you've seen him perform very, very well against during his time at LSU, even against faster paced SEC offenses in that case. And you also see 15 sacks in his career as well. So he can blitz from that second level and get pressure on the quarterback. So Jabril Cox, maybe not necessarily a first rounder at the time that I'm recording this, but could be somebody that ends up testing his way up there, or that has enough, that puts enough on the books that a team decides, hey, let's grab him in the first round because we may not be able to get back around to get him in the second. Let's get him while he's on the board right here. And now we'll take a look at our last linebacker today, a guy that really does feel like a day 2, either round 2, round 3 selection, although I do believe he's been slept on a little bit. Out of Ohio State, 6'3", 245-pound linebacker Baron Browning. He's another guy that can kind of do it all. I mean, he is a very good when he's been designated as a pass rusher from the second level, but he also has the athleticism, size, and length to perform in coverage as well. So he has been somebody that has been very, very impressive to watch. Feels a little Jabril Cox-like, although Jabril Cox's ability to get from sideline to sideline, to me, sort of outplays Baron Browning in that area. So for me, Baron Browning, maybe a little bit more of a strong side guy than a weak side guy that you could put in coverage every now and then, but mostly utilize as such a way to be a disruptor and an on-ball guy making plays in the run game, or potentially, like I mentioned, designating as a pass rusher. He also has the Ohio State connection, of course, when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. They love their Ohio State Buckeyes, although we haven't really seen them dip into that talent pool here recently. This year, though, 2 linebackers in Baron Browning as well as Pete Werner, who have pretty versatile skill sets at the second level. And Matt Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, also mentioned that Pete Werner does have a first-round grade by some NFL teams. So certainly something to keep an eye out on between those 2 linebackers for the New Orleans Saints. But Baron Browning feels a little bit more like a potential New Orleans Saint in the second or third round. But if I have to pick between any of these guys, this should be of no surprise to anyone watching this video. For me, it's Zaven Collins. But feel free to let us know which of these linebackers or any other linebackers that you have your eyes on. You have a Jamin Davis, you have a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, even Nick Bolton out of Missouri. There are a lot of very talented linebackers in this class. Let us know who some of your favorites are in the comments below. And don't forget to come back tomorrow as we take a look at the electrifying skill position. Could the Saints be looking to get another weapon for Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill on the offensive side, particularly at the wide receiver position, which we'll break down tomorrow and take a look at 3 potential immediate impact players at that spot. Once again, I'm Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter. And don't forget to check out CanalStreetChronicles.com and at Saints CSC for all of the New Orleans Saints NFL draft content you need.